üstü gözlük sancak burada neta.
Sancak başomuzundaki temasa mesafe 800 yarda, sürat 1.7 knot.
So with the Turkish Coast Guard in the Aegean Sea, they've received reports that there are boats which they believe at some point were trying to reach Greek waters. They can see it on the screen in front of them there. We can see people on a raft.
Bir adet turuncu, 3 adet siyah renkli olmak üzere 4 adet cansalı Uluva'da gözükmekte.
A migration crisis, which peaked in 2015 as a result of the ongoing Syrian war, is now being compounded by an influx of refugees fleeing the Taliban in Afghanistan, conflicts in Sub-Saharan Africa, and the collapse of the Lebanese economy. This group of around 80 people, including children and pregnant women, fled Lebanon for Europe, but said they were violently forced into Turkish waters by Greece's Coast Guard when they sailed into Greek territory.
زكتونا على اساس انه نحن اذا توصلونا على ايطاليا هني كذبوا علينا، صاروا يطلعونا غصبا عنا، جابوا الشوك الكتريك والعصي بالرجال وبالنسوان صاروا يضربوا فينا ويزتونا بالشوك الكتريك هيك يزتونا.
انت وين ردتي تروحين؟
لا وجهتنا اصلا الحقيقيه المانيا، بس ما فينا نفوت على المانيا الا عن طريق ايطاليا.
هذا الطريق خطر كثير. ليش رحتوا بهذا الطريق؟
انه ما بقى فينا نتحمل بلبنان.
قالوا هيك ميتين
بلبنان.
بلدنا ميتين وهم
ما بدنا نرجع على لبنان، كمان اليونان اجوا زلونا اكثر.
At the height of the 2015 refugee crisis, more than 1 million people sought asylum in the European Union, a right that's legally guaranteed by international and EU law. The sudden spike caused a humanitarian crisis that captured the world's attention as thousands died trying to reach Europe. In response, the EU and Turkey entered an agreement in 2016 in which Turkey pledged to take back those who illegally crossed its border with Greece in exchange for billions in aid and a promise that the EU would resettle Syrian refugees living in Turkey, among other concessions. Although the EU claims the agreement reduced migration, the crisis had already been used to fuel the rise of far-right parties in Europe and push their governments to tighten immigration policies. The pandemic exacerbated this shift and emboldened border states to violently and illegally push back those seeking a safe haven. As Europe closed its doors, Turkey, citing broken promises by the EU, has threatened to not stop migrants and refugees from crossing the border into Greece once again.
Artık kapılar açılmıştır. Şu anda sizler bu yükten nasibinizi alacaksınız.
Turkey hosts more refugees than any other country in the world and is a transit route for millions seeking passage to Europe both by sea and by land. The hardening of Europe's borders has caused a domino effect here. Already overwhelmed by refugees and facing an ailing economy, Turkey is increasingly cracking down on people making this journey.
Help me! Problem, help me! Help us! We are in the head!
We're at a local deportation centre and you can hear some of the people who are being held. They're shouting that there are problems here, that they want help. This is where people are brought who cross over illegally ahead of them being deported.
At least 7,500 Afghans are held in Turkey's overcrowded deportation centres, and their numbers are growing since the fall of Kabul. Turkey insists they've paused deportations to Afghanistan, but refugees and rights groups claim some have been pushed back to Iran.
This class is for Turkish language. On the opposite side we have the barber.
Despite the media circus, we were keen to see what the real conditions were like for those inside.
This tour is obviously very, very controlled and we are being shown specifically things that they want us to see. What is this room?
Bu televizyon odası. Yani bu televizyon arızadan...
Can we go to the rooms where they sleep?
Yok.
Some of them were asking for us to go and see them and speak. Is that okay? Is that not okay?
Yok. Yani odalar çok uygun değil. O yüzden diyorum. Yani şöyle kendileri istemiyorlar. Yani odalarına girilmesini, görüntü alınmasını rahatsız oluyorlar. Dolayısıyla biz de müsaade etmiyoruz.
Juma Umurja is the Migration Authority Director in Van and oversees this deportation centre where Afghans can be held for up to a year.
Do you think you're receiving enough support and help from the European Union or from the international community?
Bizim sadece Afganistan'dan ya da Suriyelilerin korunması, bakılması ve bunların iltica başvurularının alınması sadece Türkiye'nin altından kalkabileceği bir yük değil, sadece Türkiye'nin yapması gereken bir sorumluluk da değil.
Is there any situation where you are currently deporting Afghans either back into Afghanistan or into Iran if they came in from Iran?
Daha önce benzer iddialarla bize başvuran, benzer iddiaları başka yerlerde tekrarlayan kişilerle görüştük ve bu kişilerin bu iddiaların doğru olmadığını ispatladık ve kesinlikle altını çizerek söylüyorum, böyle bir şey yok. Böyle bir şey hukuken de mümkün değil, vicdanen de bizim yapabileceğimiz bir şey değil.
The weaponization of immigration and Turkey's standoff with the EU has made migration routes more dangerous for refugees and those facilitating their journey.
It's increasingly risky being a smuggler in Turkey, but we've managed to track one down, and he's taken us to this secret location. Where are the majority of migrants and refugees that you smuggle come from?
Şu an Afganistan ve Pakistan'dan geliyor. Son bir ayda 1000 insan getirdim Türkiye'ye.
We have spoken to multiple refugees who say that smugglers treat them badly, inhumanely. Some have said that they're treated like animals by smugglers.
Hayır, asani %1'i misalı kaçakçı insan hani yani %99 öyle değil.
Then why is it that all the refugees we speak to say that that is not how they are treated?
Onların eline düşüyorlar. Onlar başkalarıdır, biz değiliz.
Why do you think refugees approach smugglers like yourself? Like, why do they come to you and pay such large money in Turkey?
Eğer zaten onlar bir yardım etseydi zaten kaçakçılara sığmazdılar.
Are you afraid of getting caught by Turkish authorities?
Yakalanmaktan tabii korkuyoruz. Yani şu an benim ekibimden sadece 2-3 kişi kalmış. Hepsi hapiste şu an. Kaçakçılığın da garantisi yoktur. Elbet yakalanacağım.
For refugees who manage to enter Turkey and evade detention, they face risking their lives again crossing into Greece. Greek border guards have been accused of sexual assault and attacking refugees and migrants, taking everything they own before illegally pushing them back into Turkish territory to fend for themselves. According to one analysis, the deaths of more than 2,000 people have been linked to pushbacks along Europe's borders since the start of the pandemic, and the EU is accused of being complicit, having funded their operations. Greece denies these allegations, and the EU has dragged its feet to investigate them. All this hasn't stopped Zia, an Afghan refugee, along with his wife and 2 daughters, from making the journey to seek asylum in Europe, despite claiming they've already been pushed back once.
من یک 24 ساعتی باید داخل جنگل و آب و مسیر راه و پلیس اینا هست.
What is running through your mind right now?
یک قدر چیزی پلیس نبینه اینا دیگه احساس ترس میکنیم، احساس نگرانی داریم. دیگه اینا دیگه بیان کردنش آسانه، ولی اون کسی که داره میره او را خدا خودش بفهمه.
تاکسی آمدم منتظر مثبت بریم.
زنگ بزن من از اون دخترها.
So they're just grabbing their things. The next 24 hours is going to be crucial for them. It could determine the rest of their lives.
Sia agreed to document every step of their journey with GPS, corroborated by video, since journalists are barred from the border region, which in Turkey is a militarized zone.
داخل کشاورزی ها بریم. پلیس کمتر دید داره.
خب هستین زیا؟
بله سلام.
سلام.
تقریبا سر مرز هستیم دیگه، یک 15-20 دقیقه تا زاو شاید یک 20 دقیقه نیم ساعت دور باشیم.
Are you feeling confident?
والا فعلا مشکل نیست، ولی خب استرس داریم دیگه، استراب داریم که انشالله بتونیم رد شیم. این رودخونه مریچه لب مرز یونان و ترکیه.
At the border, they inflated a raft which they used to cross the Meric River into Greece. Once there, they hid overnight and the next morning went to a nearby cafe to buy bus tickets to travel further into Greece.
چه خبر آقا زیا؟ چه حالی داری؟
This is the last footage they captured in Greece. Zia and his family were apprehended by Greek authorities at the cafe and say they were taken to an open-air detention centre nearby before being returned to Turkey. While the EU was founded on the principles of human rights, its response to pushbacks by Greece and other European border states has called into question its own commitment to the rule of law when it comes to the lives and welfare of refugees.
I've come to Brussels, and this is the headquarters of the EU Commission. Their role is to initiate and enforce legislation. So we're going to go and ask them why Greece has been able to get away with breaking the law. Do you acknowledge that Greece has been violently and forcibly pushing migrants and refugees back over its border?
We can't say that for sure, but we have a lot of reports, and this needs to be investigated.
It took us a matter of days to see and conclusively learn that Greece is still doing that. There's been enough time for you to verify that this is happening and take action against Greece, but that's not happening. Why?
Well, I am responsible, of course, to make sure that the EU acquis are being complied with, but it's also the member states that are responsible to follow the rules. And you can't just ignore these kind of reports. They have to take them seriously.
But they're not. They're not taking it seriously.
I expect them to do so.
Is there a possibility that if Greece continues to ignore these warnings, they will be taken to court?
Well, let's take one step at a time. But of course, the Commission always have this possibility to start a formal infringement procedure.
Can you tell me how it feels like for you as a commissioner in the European Union to hear of these reports of people being beaten, tasered, having all their life's belongings taken off them and then sent out back into the danger?
It's a violation towards our values. It's a violation towards why I'm proud of being a European, and also why people would like to come to the European Union.
As reports of pushbacks in Poland, Hungary, Croatia and Greece become more frequent, the people seeking refuge have been reduced to pawns in a deadly geopolitical game. Back in Istanbul, the EU's expectations of Greece ring hollow for Zia and his family.
سلام علیکم. بفرمایید. پلیس آمدن و ما رو دستگیر کردن. اونا فقط وظیفه خودن، کار خود انجام بدن و نمیگن که اینا انسان هستن یا چی هستن.
The Greek authorities say that this isn't happening. They deny that they are forcing migrants or refugees back over the border into Turkey.
این دروغ است که ما با شما سند رای کردیم. این دروغ است که ما از او صحنه‌ای که بودیم، از کافه‌ای که بلیط خریدیم برای شما لوکیشن رای کردیم یا فیلم رای کردیم، اون دروغ است.
میگه خود اتحادیه اروپا با اینکه مثلا خودشان میفهمن، خودشان همین قانون ماندن که جامعه جهانی بدانه و سکوت کنه.